Okay. 1 more minute. Hey, Steve, just FYI, what I'm going to cover today is stuff that you and I have talked about offline. So if you're slam busy, you could bolt, but if you want to stay, feel free. Okay. 30 seconds. I just hate to get started and then people come in and then I feel like I have to repeat myself.
Hey, Tommy, this is Marianne from Denny's, finally catching a call. Is this a general call for all users on OpsAnalitica, or?
It's kind of an admin call, so we just talk about more like stuff that admins are dealing with. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about PhotoAnalyzer and then also talking about AI summaries, and then I'm going to be giving an update on the UI build out. So it's going to be more on that kind of stuff.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I need to get caught up on the previous calls regarding the photo analyzer. And do you know if has anybody at Denny started using it or not? I don't know if Laura's been on the calls.
Yeah, Laura and Jason were actually on the introduction, the webinar that I did about the photo analyzer, and I'm actually meeting with her and Jason, and I think someone from food safety too later this week.
Somebody from our, I'm on the food safety team. Who on food safety are you meeting with? Is it
John? Is it John? Let me go look. I can tell you. Hold on 1 sec.
From Denny's food safety?
Yeah, hold on. I might have his. I'm so like I'm jumping in so many directions right now. Let me just go confirm who's going to be on that call. Hold on 1 second. I'll tell you. It is going to be it's just Laura, but then I thought that's. Hold on, I'll tell you. Give me 2 seconds. I'm waiting for people to come. Is it? No, it's not John. Hold on.
Yeah, I was going to say Jason Jarrett is our VP.
I don't think I reached out to Jason. It is. Oh, he's more on the supply chain side. Hold on.
Jeff Kenny?
No. Let me do this. James. Is James O'Neill maybe?
Okay, yep, that's my partner. Okay.
Okay.
I'll get the update from him then.
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming to that call or not now, but I'm looking at the invite. I got to confirm that I got it all set. But James and I had met about before a while ago about like the supply chain stuff and validating supply chain guys, I think is how I originally met James. And then at one point we were talking about maybe doing some more stuff at Kiki's, but then I think Kiki's is like
okay, he supports Kiki's, but yeah, we don't know what's happening with them. What time is that call on Thursday?
It is. I can send you the.
Can you add me to the invite, because I'm an admin on the account right now.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm going to be kind of stepping back into getting back up to speed on things with Laura, because we're doing some stuff on the brain standards auditing side.
Yeah.
And that's where the photo analyzer really caught my attention.
Yeah. So, well, we'll get started. Let me give me 1 split sec. I'm going to grab this. Hold on. Preview. Where are you? And actually, we'll just go over because I'll go over real quick. Preview. Let's get that at the top here. File recent. So yeah, I'm going to go over very quickly the slide deck about the photo analyzer, and then I want to talk about summaries as well too. And then I'll talk about the UI, and we'll just kind of go from there. So let me share my screen. Hold on. I got to come back over here, push this button, hit entire screen, hit that, preview. All right. So yeah, let's talk about the photo analyzer, and I'll make sure you're on that call, because what we want to start figuring out is sort of what use cases we can use these photos for to get higher level data and compliance, right? So, okay, so I'm going to kind of go through this real quick. So we created a thing called OpsAI, and then within OpsAI, we created the Ops PhotoAnalyzer. So OpsAI is kind of our overall AI implementation, and then each of the individual AI features that we build will kind of live in this framework. So the big thing to know is that we are AI provider agnostic. So we are already connected up to the big 4 AI providers, and how we decide to choose which provider we're going to use is really based on which model and which provider does the best job for the task we're trying to do. Like, see, as soon as I started talking, I need some. Okay, let me see who this is. Hold on, I got minus that. Oh, there's Laura. There she is. There you go. Hey, Laura. It's Tommy. So I'm kind of going over the webinar deck, and Marianne from Denny's is on too, and just to kind of get people up to date on where we're at with the AI. And then we're going to talk about the photo analyzer a little bit. We're also going to talk about AI form summaries, because I'm trying to figure out what you guys care about in that future feature. And then we'll talk about the UI real quick. So I just am basically going to go through the slide deck very quickly here, and then we'll get moving from there. So pretty much we've connected up to all the biggest AI providers, and we just look at which one does the best job for the individual task we're trying to do. And the thing is that these guys are making leaps and bounds. Like every month they're getting better at stuff. So, you know, we just try to stay up to date on who's doing what the best. And, you know, in our system, it's very easy for us to switch between providers and whatnot. So we do have this ecosystem where we're trying to utilize the best AI on the planet at any given moment. One credit plan, essentially, every time, because we don't make our own AI, we you know, send the data off to somebody else. They bill us for that. So there's just one unified credit plan that will allow you to understand. We have high transparency. It's kind of a pass-through cost for us, you know. And actually, the most important thing here, and the more we've been looking into this, and as we're getting people on the platform using the photos, the real value of the platform is the OpsLogic engine paired with the AI. You're not going to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish with AI without the power of the OpsLogic engine, especially like within photos, specifically making sure that you are serving up a photo question that can be passed at the store level. Because these photo questions have to be very kind of specific, right? Like on what you're looking at. So if somebody's got like a different make table or a different setup or design, you're going to need that ability to build a question that matches what they can actually take a picture of in their actual building, and do that seamlessly, so that everybody has the opportunity to pass the question with one photo, if you will. So what we're finding is that the AI is awesome, but the OpsLogic engine with the AI is the winning combo. And I think what we're going to find too is that a lot of our competitors who don't have a powerful OpsLogic engine are not going to be able to deliver on their promises, because they're not going to have the advanced capabilities that we have. So the AI photo analysis, essentially, you build a required photo question. You put in like individual criteria that it's spell out exactly what you want to see, you know, what you want the AI to see in the photo. The person takes the picture, says, use this photo. Within 5 to 10 seconds at the latest, it will have returned a pass or a fail, based off of the AI's analysis of the picture. And then using the rules, you can determine whatever you want to do based off of that pass or a fail, you can do using the rules, right? And what this does for us is it eliminates the manual review. The AI acts as a third-party objective observer that looks at the picture in real time and tells you what was right or wrong, and it returns very descriptive text about exactly what was good and bad. And then, you can just kind of move forward from there, whatever you want to do, score the thing, require another picture, fix the issue, send a task, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of cleared I just kind of went through all that. Oh, here's another thing. You set a response tag for each criteria you create in the system. So that is huge for analysis after the fact. Because so you say, like, I don't know, the thing had to be fully stocked, right? And then it comes back that it wasn't fully stocked. There'll be a tag associated to that response that you can then go into our reports and go, hey, I want to see how many times the line wasn't fully stocked. Or you'll be able to go and look at those specific photos using those response tags as a way to filter that data down to exactly what you want to see. You can also set the pass-fail criteria or the standard. So you can make it, you might have 5 criteria on there. You might say only one has to pass for the photo to pass, or you can say all 5 have to pass, right? So you can control how hard the photo questions are being graded. And you can, like everything in our system, you can make a change and hit save, and literally that new standard goes into effect as soon as you hit save. So you're able to go in and legitimately ramp this up over time, right? Kind of talked about all of that. Talked about all that. Some just things to note. You want to, when doing these questions, you want to provide them with like a golden rule photo, which is essentially like, hey, this is what your picture should look like, just so they know what picture you want them to take. And generally, you want it to be zoomed in well enough that the subject matter fills about 2/3 of the photo. And the photo, the way the AI is set up, there is no memory or history with the AI. Every time you send a photo over and the photo and the criteria go over, the AI evaluates it with a fresh set of eyes. And we tell it, you can only look at what shows up in the picture. You can't guess, you can't infer, you can't hallucinate, right? It's got to be clearly in the picture, which means that you're always getting a clean read on this, I talked about all this stuff. Let's talk about crawl, walk, run. So this is how I would recommend that you actually implement this in your world. Your crawl phase is your internal testing, where you get real world photos from like your checklists and your audits and stuff, and you build a test form, just in the corporate org that's just to your test store, and you refine your criteria using real world photos. And by the way, I use AI to write my criteria because they need to be short and concise. So I use like Gemini personally, but you can use any of them, just to help you write the criteria. So then you're testing yourself, your crawl phase, and then I feel pretty good about this. It's going to work good. Then you go into your walk phase, where you might just configure the picture. You might put the picture out like on a real form, but you're doing it in kind of a data gathering mode only, where you're just letting people take the pictures, but there's no consequences for passes or fails. It's just literally data gathering. And then depending on the size of your brand and how many, forms you're doing, the walk phase could be 2 days, right? Or it might take a quarter, just, if you're just doing one audit for 100 restaurants, it could take a quarter maybe. But if it's like a daily checklist, you might be able to gather enough data in your walk phase to, get you a validation that everything is working the way you want it to be and that your criteria are good. And so you just play your walk phase until you feel good about that the pictures that are passing should be passing and the ones that are failing should be failing. And we tell the AI to err on failing something versus the err on passing it. We never want to pass a picture that had a critical issue in it. We would rather fail a picture that was good, because at least we're not allowing that critical to kind of move forward, right? And then your run phase is once you're confident that, it's all great and working the way you expect it to, and you're very happy with it, then you can start adding additional rules to it, like scoring rules, follow-up tasks, that kind of stuff. Maybe requiring that the picture has to pass to submit the form, to make the people retake it, those kinds of things. And that's where you get the behavior change, is when you require the pass to submit. So that I kind of talked about all that. Just use AI to help you write your criteria. Ways you can control your AI spend using dynamic checklists, which you guys already do. Making sure that you're always giving the right question to the right store so they can get a passing photo in one photo. We can use the randomization features. If you look at your stores, you might go, hey, we know this is an A store. They've been an A store for years. You can say, hey, maybe we don't give them a photo question on every temperature log, right? Maybe what we do is we randomize that and give them one a day. And then we can use those credits for our C and D stores to require more photos be taken in the hopes of getting them to be A and B stores. So you can use randomization. You can, if you can limit how many pictures somebody takes. You can limit how many pictures somebody takes by using follow-up questions. So you could say, hey, your first photo failed. Give them a follow-up question, fix what was in the first photo, take another one. Let's say that one fails too. On the third one, we might not do follow-up questions. We might just say, hey, we just let it fail. If they can't get a pass, then maybe we send a task off to the admins to say, hey, look at this picture and determine, is your criteria off or is it just not meeting the standard? And then, we can follow up with the FBCs or whoever, right? And then obviously, we should be focusing the most compliance on the low performers. And like I said earlier, maybe let the top performers do a little bit less. Benefits of this: for the first time ever, we have the ability to eliminate pencil whipping on all of our forms, because how we've traditionally managed this stuff, right, is we focused on compliance and completed percentage to get things done. That's been the KPI we could manage. But with this photo analyzer, we can actually start moving to a verification of readiness and compliance model by using the pictures to guide us to that point. We're getting real-time accountability as it's happening with no human intervention. And so the AI can take that load off of our backs, because the reason pencil whipping happens, and it happens a lot, is because we've never had a cost-effective, easy way to manage it. It almost requires having an FBC in every store, every shift, which is like financially impossible, right? So the AI can actually be that digital FBC, if you will, in the store, not only evaluating what's happening, but telling you exactly what you need to fix. And then the data we're going to get out of this is going to be so much better because it's objective third-party analysis. It doesn't care that if you don't get an 80 on your audit, you're not going to get your bonus. You know what I mean? It's just there looking at what's actually happening. Works on everything. Any question, you can add a photo question anywhere. Billing, I'll go over this very quickly. The cheapest plan is $45 a month. It's actually 2,000 credits, which essentially equates to about 1,000 photos a month. And you pay by usage, which is a much better way to do it, because you have complete transparency. And if you're going to do something special, one month or one quarter, you could just buy extra credits And then, you don't have to raise your entire AI subscription to, just for one-off stuff. Credits are allocated monthly and they expire at the end of the month. You can top off for $5 or 100 photos anytime you need. There's an entire admin page, and we will email you when you're 20% of your credit limit. You literally get a transaction detail for every single photo that's taken, or every AI query that's like processed. Essentially, you can go in and look at who's doing it, whatever. This is how you configure the criteria. You can also configure how many photos you'll allow to go on one question, up to 5. And there's a few use cases I can figure out where maybe doing multiple photos makes sense. Like if you were checking labeling or something. And but in most cases, I would suggest you just use one. These are the criteria. These are the response tags. This is the ultimate response tag that gets put on if the criteria fails. The lower the criteria number, the harder it is to pass the question. So 1 is essentially means that if anything's wrong, the whole question fails. But it's just our standard photo question with this stuff on there. This is what it looks like. So take a picture of the bookcase. Every question, every AI question gets a summary, right? You get a pass or a failed flag. You get a general summary of what the AI saw on the entire question at the bottom. And then on this case, this was a failed. This was the individual criteria that failed this use case. So it literally tells you each criteria that failed and then gives you the overall summary, right? And remember, you can have a failed criteria and still have a passed photo depending on how strict your scoring thresholds are. But yeah, so you're getting plain text. Visual evidence shows circular white gray object appears to be something. Vacuum clean device stored in the left bottom cubby below the wood countertop. The bottom section is not completely empty. So like it told you based on your criteria and what it saw in the picture that this was the exact issue. So you can tell people, read your failed criteria, go fix that thing and take another picture specifically. Okay, that's other stuff we're going to talk about. And then right now, you guys are in the introductory period. You're getting 100 free credits a month right now, every month. So you can go in and use the photo analyzer on a daily basis. We're here to help, obviously, help you write your criteria, help you get your first test photos up and running. You're under the intro pricing range too, which is essentially like 4.5 cents per photo. Just so you know, this introductory period goes to the end. Oh, that's actually wrong. It's July 30th. Sorry about that. So we want to get everybody at least testing, and on even the cheapest plan to lock in the introductory pricing. New clients and after July 30th, we'll be paying more than what you currently guys are paying. So that's my slide deck, and I can actually show you a picture. How it works here. Oh, let's get off my email. So here's an example. This is just a completed form I did. This is an example of a product recall. So I literally took a picture of this label. And lot 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the lot that's being recalled. So the picture was able, so I was literally able to just verify that I had the bad product. And so then it tells us very clearly here that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was bad. So then I was able to then, require it to, do all this other stuff. How many boxes did I have? All these other pieces of data that wanted a picture of the boxes outside that you had pulled from the store. And then I also required a picture of recall, do not eat being written on them and thrown in the dumpster. So we have a complete chain of custody from identifying that we had the bad product in the store all the way to the dumpster. And by the way, these weren't photo analyzer questions. Not every question has to be analyzed by the AI. You just simply choose the ones that are the most impactful. And just so you know, Marianne, when we tested this out, we did use a Denny's hamburger photo from an LTO, and we were able to look at, you can look at multiple things in a photo. So we were looking for a golden brown side and ranch dressing and a toothpick and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So you don't just have to look at one thing per picture. You can look at 4 or 5 things, you know. But that's an example of that kind of form. And then let's look at this one. So here's an example of a past make table. So it passed it 95%. And this is the confidence that the AI had in its decision, 95 out of 100. So, you know, that's kind of that. So I'm going to wrap up the photo AI portion of the admin meeting today. Photo AI is out right now. Everybody every client has 100, it's getting 100 credits a month that they can start playing with. And the thing that I'm most interested in helping you guys with is getting all the different use cases that you guys might want to use photo analysis with. And I'm happy to help write the criteria and build the test checklists and just learn from what you guys can foresee using it for within your organizations. And another thing you should know is it can take a picture of anything. It doesn't care. Like, you know what I mean? It can be a sign we did some test photos. And it was cool because it was like failing a photo that I was like, man, why isn't this failing? But that test strip looks great. And the AI actually read the expiration date on the test strip container and it had expired. So it was actually failing it because it was looking at that date, right? So, I mean, you know, it can do anything. It can look for cleanliness. Oh, here's an example. That's a cool one. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you have some examples of how it might look at cleanliness?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do. I just got to go find it. Man, you've been doing a lot of checklisting. Oh, I know why. Hold on. Wrong org. Ops, photo, analyzer, demo org. So, storage room floor. Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Let me go look for it again. Completed. Sushi case. It might be in here. Nope. Let me just filter this by checklist. Storage room floor. Okay, yeah. So here's an example. So this picture failed because the criteria was no food on the floor and no trash on the floor. So this is literally like an example of it determining that there were things on the floor that weren't supposed to be there. And you can look at like, and that's actually like my pantry. That's me. That's my current pantry. Let me look at what other ones we have in here. We have battery box, bookshelf, fully stocked. Here's test.
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around. So like using that, you know, because Laura and I were talking in a side chat in terms of trying to think of some use case scenarios of when would I want to use photo analyzer versus a human, like the one you had with the stuff on the floor, right? That's a pretty narrow, the standard is nothing can be on the floor. Would I want to use up credits to tell me there's stuff on the floor when my eyeballs can see there's stuff on the floor? And you got to have a human stand there and take the picture anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think audits are different. So here's what I would say too. Audits are different than daily checklists because we have a professional person walking through and doing the audit, right? So there might be a use case though, So there could be a use case where, where there might be certain things that are so like important, like unapproved product, or things where we might want to use the AI to do that. But right, but there's another use case there too, which are self audits, right? Could we build a photo analyzer self audit where we are doing pretty much all pictures, and we're going, hey, we're going to let you do your own audit because we're confident that we can. Because why do we send the field guys to the stores, right? Which is expensive, depending on where the store is located and whatnot. There's gas and per diem and hotel rooms potentially, whatever. Could we look at scenarios where we allow maybe the best stores to do a photo audit, and we don't have to send somebody out to visit them and spend several hours walking through the store, having them, where you just get the same level of verification from from them doing their own self audit, essentially. Or like for those D3 stores, I don't know if you're familiar with that D3 program.
Yeah.
But like, could we have them doing more follow-up questions that are pictures to try to drive that behavior change? So it might not be that we might just allow the human being to do the audit, the standard audit, but there could be use cases around allowing people to do their own follow-up audits or verify that things weren't, verify that they have been fixing the things that were identified on their audit. One of the things that we did talk about with the D3 team, which is something that we can do very easily, is utilizing the audit results to change the daily forms dynamically to address issues that are identified on the audits over time. So we can see that we're getting an actual behavior change on a daily basis. And I actually invented a way to do that in the system. We haven't implemented it yet, but we talked about, like, could we, for instance, if you had a couple of things wrong on your audit, could we add a couple of questions to your daily CCP log, or could we throw you into a group that gets a once a month follow-up form that has a couple of photos on there that we can verify? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that can all happen automatically, where you get a combination of tasks that need to be resolved, within, let's say, a couple of weeks, and then also modifying their daily forms to take on some of these items so that we change the behavior to the right behavior, right?
Right.
So this is an example of a test strip that failed because the tip was below 10. I would assume that's below 10. I'm not good with colors, but yeah. So,
there's no purple at all, so it failed. Yeah, it's got to have purple best.
So, and this one failed too. And actually it fails because they took the picture on this black thing, and so that darkest tip gets buried in the black. And this is more just an example of, this is not a great picture. As a matter of fact, I built something. Hold on. I built like a job aid essentially for this, where you could literally set the diversity thing on the page and then put the test strip like in an outlined box, so that you would get a really great picture every time. Hold on, I'll go find it real quick. Give me one split sec. Stop sharing. But I did build it. It's pretty cool, actually. Man, here it is. Yeah, let me open that up. And then let me share it with you real quick. Window. Let's put it here. Okay.
So kind of sounds like, in terms of trying to wrap our brains around some use case scenarios, would it be beneficial to kind of have, you know, a call with you to
Yeah.
share how are we using audits, checklists, what are we thinking of? And then because you've been living in this for a while, where PhotoAnalyzer would help, and because one of the things we're toying with is leveraging our third-party auditor to take on some assessments that were done internally, because our internal team just don't have the bandwidth. But some of that requires you to have some Denny specific knowledge. And if there's things that we can, you know, make use of the photo analyzer to determine if it's meeting the standard or not meeting the standard, then we don't have to train those third-party auditors on the standards. They just have to take the photo.
Absolutely. That's a great use case that I had never thought of before. See, this is why I like these conversations so much. Yes, that's exactly a great way to do it, because you're right. Like, they don't know that this was supposed to be exactly like this. They're generic food safety restaurant auditors, and most of them are generally just trying to go in and coach on the big stuff. But you're right, like you said, they might go to a Qdoba, then a Denny's, then Applebee's in the same day, and they don't know the specific thing that you want them to look at. So yes, this would be a perfect use case for that.
Yeah. I mean, on the food safety stuff, the good news is food safety is pretty universal, right? Cold food, cold, hot food, hot. But we're wanting to dip our toes into having them assess more Denny's brand standard related things. That Denny, it's not the same at Qdoba or, you know, Chipotle or a Denny's or an IHOP. You know, you got to have that specific brand knowledge. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, and like an example that from Noodles and Company, that we talked to them a bunch of years ago, but like their cheese sauce, it was a hot hold cheese sauce, and it obviously had to be above 135, but actually it needed to be between 165 and 175, because anything above 175, it actually became like a block of Velveeta. You know what I mean? So like that's an exact thing where, yes, a food safety guy would say it was safe, but like if it was at 180, it was actually like the product was deteriorating, and like the you know, it was safe.
Yeah, quality.
Yeah,
quality versus food safety. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be like another good example. This is a little thing I like, and this is the crazy thing about AI. I think I built this in Grok, and like it built this in like the first thing. But like this is an example of a job aid where you could set the diversity test strip thing. You could laminate this, and you could set this the test strip container right in that like box where it has the pill bottle, and then you could set your strip right next to it, and then you could take the picture, and then you would be guaranteed a great picture, you know, every time. And those are the kind of things that we could also build internally to ensure that we're getting the best quality photos and that people are getting a pass as quickly as possible. So anyway, yeah. So yes, and I think that call we're doing later this week, Laura, is about, you know, brainstorming what those use cases are, you know. So we can absolutely do that, you know, on that call on Thursday. It's just like, let's start figuring out where does this make the most sense, because you want to get an ROI on this, right? So using those third-party auditors to do some of that stuff. I think trying to utilize people to do self-audits or to, you know, individual follow-ups where they're doing it after the inspector's gone, but we're getting the validation. That's another great use case. But I do agree with you. Like if I'm sending a person out in the field, they can just as easily look at something and say it's going to vary. So that might not be the best use case.
Right, but if we're doing hybrid stuff with them, right? So
yes,
there might be some things that we can really leverage something like this on, which, you know, because in the world of third-party auditing, the number of questions equals the audit time equals your price per audit, right? So if there's, the way to maybe increase the number of questions we can assess, because some of it's just done by a photo versus an auditor having to click through answers and write responses, there might be an opportunity with that.
Oh, absolutely. So you could see it as sort of a cost-saving measure in that respect.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to. Well, A, you get better quality audits, number one, but B, you could have, like you said. So here's the interesting thing, and we just kind of had this epiphany today, literally as we were talking through this, is that the photo AI question is a different animal completely than every other question on any other platform ever, in the respect of on every other question we've ever put in any form, the human being filling out the form was answering the question. But with the photo question, the photo AI question, the AI is actually answering the question, and the human being is just facilitating that answer by taking the picture, right? And
Correct.
It's the first time ever, if we require a passing photo to submit the form, that you could be in a situation where you take the picture but can't submit the form because it failed if you put all of the criteria on there, like you have to have, which is optional, obviously. You have to have the passing photo, right? So it's actually like it's a kind of a different, we're kind of entering into a different world. You know what I mean? And what I do see happening too over the next couple of years is that we start to slowly move away from a compliance model where we're focused 100% on was this completed, right? Which is what we do today, to a verification model, which is was this done correctly? You know what I mean?
Where have you gotten, right now you're just playing in the world of static photos. Where has there been anything done with video capture?
Yes. So, what am I trying to say? So I've talked to several camera companies that are using AI in their cameras, and they can do a lot, but they can't do the whole thing because they can't, unless you're going to mount a camera, like, to look into a reach-in, for instance, you know what I mean? So they can do a lot from the ceiling. And they can use AI to determine, was this bad or was this good, whatever. But their limitation will be where we can't get the camera to the right angle to get a good picture. And then, places, and then also that's a huge capital expense at the beginning because you usually have to have a server in the restaurant. And you have to buy all the hardware and get it mounted and wired up and everything. So there is some there. Now I do think I do think that it would also, if we were analyzing video that we took on the phone, I think it could get very cost prohibitive very quickly. Because we're looking at like 150 kilobyte photo and a couple of criteria versus what could be a 10 megabyte video, right? There's a lot more compute time that you're going to be paying for from the AI provider to go through and watch every frame of that video. You know what I mean? So right. I don't know that we would be able to use the video, like we wouldn't be able to capture the video on our own devices. I mean, we could, technically it's possible, but I don't think it would be, it might end up costing you a couple bucks, you know what I mean? And do that 1,600 times and all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Just trying to think down the road.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But I can see, so, one of the things about our platform is that it's all API driven. So if there was a camera company that you were super interested in working with, and you could introduce me to them and we could have a technical conversation about what could you do versus what can I do. And then can we get all of the data through our API into one consolidated form where the cameras are doing, their job and inserting the answers into the form, and then the humans doing their job. And then at the end, we have a completed form that was, maybe you only had to answer 20 questions on the audit as a person, and then the camera did 100 questions or something. I don't know. Because so what those, just so you know, then this is just those camera companies, the reason they want a server in your store is because they're running the AI locally, right, on their server, and then they're processing it all right there on their box, and then they're just pushing like metadata, like the answer and the analysis, to the cloud. Because if you had to push all that video to the cloud at the resolutions that it's taking, it would cost them a fortune too, right? Like it would be cost prohibitive. So that's what they're doing there. But they could totally do their portion of it and just send the data to our API, just the answer, right? And it would be very inexpensive to do. So yeah, but then we can't use the server on site because we're using a mobile device. You know what I mean? So we're not like wired into their server, if you will. So yeah, but if you've got a vendor that you really like, let me know and get me an introduction, and I'd be happy to chat with them and see what we could do together. I'd love to. It'd be so fun. And just so you know too, and I know Laura knows this, but we don't charge for those kinds of things. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like you have to pay me like 10 grand to go meet with this person to figure this out. You just arrange an introduction and I'll go just talk to them, figure it out, you know? So we don't nickel and dime you guys, or we try not to. Yeah. So, I'll wrap up this portion of the admin meeting, and I do want to kind of brainstorm with you guys. We are considering building an AI audit or AI form summaries. So the idea would be that as you're building out a form, you could click on a tab somewhere and you could set a series of criteria that you want the AI to use to then create a summary of what you saw, what it saw on the form. And then that summary would be inserted into the completed form at the top. And it would be whatever you wanted it to be. So like a use case could be, I want you to give me up to 5 bullets of everything this guy did great on the form. I want you then to give me up to 5 bullets of everything, like the most critical things they got wrong on this form. And then maybe the third section might be, I want up to 5 bullets of, best practices on how to address those 5 issues in like right now. And you could do this on any form you wanted, and it would work just like the photos. The ones I've been testing cost about 2 credits as well. So about 4.5 cents. And essentially it would just provide context to anyone looking at the completed report to know what was seen, what the AI saw on this form.
So Laura, have you guys looked into doing that with the D3 forms? That sounds like that would be the perfect use case for that, because I get copied on those and I see the FBCs doing the summary that they send, but I don't know, are they creating that manually, or is that when they're taking, here's the things to focus on, all that blah, blah, blah?
Yes, they're doing that manually.
Yeah, we don't have it in the system yet. We're just trying to figure out where you guys could see using it. So Steve's on the call too, and I had a conversation with Steve about this maybe a couple weeks ago, and he thought that the summaries would be great on audits for sure, but he didn't see the use case for dailies. But then I posed the question to him, well, what happens if we're moving to much heavier photo analysis dailies, where that add more value, because then the AI would be looking at every picture and the reason why the picture failed, and it would be utilizing that in its analysis. But then I guess also too, it would be interesting would be, would that make it easier if I was going in to do an audit, if I was able to go in and look at, a couple of forms and not have to scroll through, 70 questions or 500 questions to see what was going on the audit. I could just see the summary at the top and I wouldn't have to filter it down or whatever. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Laura, that the D3 would be a great thing to test that out on and see what kind of summaries could come out of that, because the brain standards coaches are manually doing those summaries at this point.
Yeah, great. That's great feedback. I appreciate it.
What about, and I'm going to start diving a little bit more into some of this stuff, because I was at Food Safety Summit last week or week before, whatever week it was, and there was a session on, using AI to be doing analytics and all that fun stuff. Is there any, with the data that comes out of OpsAnalitica, thinking about our current checklist, like the CCP logs right now, is there a way do you have any kind of AI related analytics on some of that to go in and look at, the data in terms of the incidences of, hey, this looks falsified to me? Or
so it's funny you say that. So we are going to be probably in the fall building out not to get too technical, but it's sort of a different version of our database. It's called a vector database. And it's basically a database that was set up so that AI can go through it and figure out the meaning of all these things really quickly. And so the idea behind that is a future release, or the next couple of main features that we want to bring out would be a chatbot that would literally live in the app that you could go into and you could say, hey, tell me what's going on with this store. And then it would be able to go through and look at all the data being collected on the store and then come back and tell you, well, they're doing a good job with their completed percentage, but they have a recurring issue with, this one cooler always seems to be off temp. And it could kind of you could just like you do with ChatGPT, but you would be able to specifically chat into OpsAnalitica and get plain text answers to plain text questions versus having to go through all the different reports. And the other extension of that would be also creating kind of a knowledge base where you could upload all of your standards into the system, like your ops manual and your training materials, and obviously it would have all your form data already. And then you would be able, that the same end user could go in and ask a question about like, hey, how is this supposed to be, right? And then the AI could go through your material and come back with the official Denny's answer. But then those two could merge together, both in the summaries and in the query reports, and be able to say, hey, you have a problem with this, and the official Denny's answer to that is to do these three things. So sort of bringing all of that together. And so those would be some features that we're super excited about, and we're looking into the fall to sort of get those implemented into the platform.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Those are some things, that we've been, talking internally, especially like the chatbot thing and being able to, kind of have your own Denny's chat,
Yeah,
if you will, to, go through and get the answer to stuff. I mean, we have some platforms, but if you don't know what to look for, good luck with that.
Sure.
Versus being able to ask a question and then the thing goes out and searches the platform for what you want.
Absolutely. And that's definitely on our radar. And that's gonna be one of the bigger things that we do with this, because that's gonna add the most value, because there's so many people that work whether you're a, if you're a restaurant manager, you might not be exactly like a report, like, you know what I mean? Like you might not like feel comfortable going through reports and knowing what to look for. And it takes a lot of time if you don't know what report to go to. So just having this sort of centralized place where you can go in the app to get any answer to any question, whether it be data related, spec related, who do I contact about this issue? It could even be that kind of stuff, right? Like just kind of like a help desk right in the app that's looking at all your data and customizing it sort of for you and for what you need, sort of where we want to go. For sure. I actually do have a hard stop in like 3 minutes. Is there any other questions that you guys want to ask?
Laura, did you have any?
I'll save my questions for our next meeting. Yeah. I have it scheduled for a Friday for 60 minutes. I am bringing a new to you team member on. He's been with Denny's for a long time, but he's now on our team, so I just want to get him on board. Sure. But he also has a lot of great questions as well. Marianne, if you're free, you're welcome to join as well.
I was just going to say, if it's Friday, I was talking to Tommy about that up front when he mentioned you guys were having a call. Yeah, if I could crash that party.
I'll add you. Yeah.
And sure. Laura, am I on that meeting? I see one. It's just me and you right now. Did you book? Is it one that you booked through your system, or is it one that
I booked through through you? I have a link to the meeting, but I've been forwarding internally to my team. So you'll have me, hopefully Jason, if he's free. Yeah, Jason accepted, and Jim Kidwell.
Cool. Okay, Jim Kidwell, I was going to ask you who are you at?
Yep.
Jim? Okay.
Yep. And I just forwarded to you, Marianne.
Jimmy K. Yeah, he's a good source to have on there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just have, go ahead, Laura.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, I just have one thing, and I might book something offline with you, Tommy. Sure. Because we've now made using OpsAnalitica our brand standard.
Nice.
For our digital checklists and our temperature logs and everything. And of course, pencil whipping stuff is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the big things is I want to talk about Bluetooth thermometers.
Yep.
And how can we make temperature capture a little more automagical?
Yeah.
Because that would, help streamline for managers as well as circumvent a little bit of the less than credible data entry.
Yep.
To be kind about it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this or not, but like we track the source of the temperatures that are coming in, if they were hand entered or thermometer entered, and we can write rules around why didn't you use a Bluetooth, give us like why didn't you use a Bluetooth and stuff like that. So yeah, we have all that built into the system. And we do have a thing too called data accuracy scoring, which I think AI will do a better job of eventually when we get it built into the system. But there are things we can look at inside of a form to determine if a thing was pencil whipped or not. And we can mark the form with that.
I do that too. Yeah, the hallmarks are 36, 36, 36, 36, 36, 36. And they were all entered at exactly the same time. Yeah, and it took them less than 2 minutes to do this entire checklist. Oh yeah.
Yep, we got all that. So we can do that today.
Yeah, but I want to have some solutions for them, because the big thing their answer is, well, I take the temperatures and write them down on a piece of paper because it's too cumbersome to go back and forth to the app, and then I just sit down and enter them all in at the same time, which right. Yeah. Okay, I'll book something with you so we can. Is there a vendor you work with on Bluetooth thermometers? Or
yes, we do Cooper Atkins, which I don't think it's called Cooper Atkins anymore, and they were really expensive. Yeah, we also do what's the other one? I have it right here. Hold on a second. It is.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Cooper Atkins Bluetooth thermometer, or Emerson. They are now, I think.
Well, there was one Bluetooth
ThermoWorks.
thermometer that you couldn't see the temperature on the device. You had to have a tablet with you to see what the temperature was reading,
Oh, I like
which makes it not a useful thermometer. You
Yeah.
know,
We do have ThermoWorks too. And
okay,
Yeah.
ThermoWorks. Okay.
ThermoWorks. Blue Therm
Any
1
of
is the
their-
one.
Any of their Bluetooths work.
Yeah, I'm a ThermoWorks fan.
So.
Okay.
And Laura, just so
don't
you
take
know
up
too,
much.
and this is for Steve as well, there is like a rule you can put on the questions where when they answer a question, it pops them to the next temperature question. So like they literally push the button on the thermometer and it skips them
So
to the next
cool.
temperature question.
yeah.
Just
Okay.
makes it faster. All right. Great, guys. Thank you so much for coming today. And we really appreciate it, and great ideas all around. And we'll see you next month.
Okay,
Appreciate
great.
you too.
Yeah.
Have a good one.